There was a serious skills crisis at the end of the last recession, and in many respects it took the industry 15, 16 years to replace the 500,000 people that were lost then. I think that we're better placed to deal with this capacity issue now. I think what we do need is a very positive leadership from government, from the Construction Leadership Council. It needs a very big positive image campaign which will need some funding, and hopefully the Construction Leadership Council will be able to help in getting that. But of course you can't wave a magic wand and create good people overnight, so it's something that we need to start doing immediately.
In the short term, I think most businesses, whether professions or construction contracting related, will plug that gap by working things harder. The use of technology will be part of that, I'm sure, but it's a very short-term fix. And ultimately we do need more people coming into the construction industry, both at contracting level and professions. And for us in surveyors, coming out of the last recession into the boom, we were desperately short of quantity surveyors in general, and made quite strong pleas to government. Eventually got the profession registered on the UK Skills Shortage Register. But as part of that problem area, we were taking on more non-cognate degree holders, that's holders of non-surveying degrees. And there is the beginnings of a school of thought that's saying we should perhaps, as an industry, have a first degree which is perhaps built environment, and that's a common platform across professions, so that the engineers, the architects, the surveyors, the landscapers, town planners, all have a common, or at least the ability to take a common first degree and then specialise at higher degree level. It is important, and there is no doubt there is an imbalance, both in terms of gender and ethnicity. RICS actually produced some statistics on it that relate to my profession. I can't talk diversely across the industry about this, but in the surveying professions, and particularly quantity surveying in the UK and Ireland, we've only got about 8% of qualified quantity surveyors who are women. Interestingly, the trainees coming into the industry, that figure would go up to about 15%. So better, but still not where we might want it to be, which ideally I think would be 50% or close to it. On ethnicity, the stats are interesting as well, because it's about 4% of qualified surveyors are from ethnic backgrounds. But again, interestingly, the trainees coming into the industry are about 12%, which is pretty much what the UK working population is.
I mean, interestingly, just to add to that, as I said, our diversity panel keeps data, it gathers data from all of the professions, and has been doing so for about 20 years, although not consistently. There have been gaps where it's not been doing it. But the good news is that the proportions are all moving in the right direction. They're moving slowly, and it's not something you expect to change overnight, because it takes a long time to get people into the professions, but they are moving in the right direction.
If you ask most women what construction's about, you'll get some pretty standard answers. And actually the world we inhabit is not muddy boots and cold sites for most of the time. Certainly in the professions, it's a mixture of all sorts of things. So it's changing that image and getting that across. I think Peter was saying 12 to 13-year-old school kids, when they're making their curriculum choices, that's the time to get to them.
Well, I have very strong views about this, actually, because I think the image problem is essentially caused by rogue traders. It's caused by individuals who really have nothing to do with the construction industry. They're not part of the bona fide industry. They don't belong to a trade association. They haven't qualified. They don't have necessarily the right skills, but they're able to go around and do work for which they're not properly competent. And that gives, and because that works largely in the domestic sector, it gives the industry a bad name. I think the industry doesn't need to apologise for that, because I think that's a social problem rather than an industry problem. All the industry can do is to continue to make sure that the people that it's training are to the right level of competence, that the companies that it has are properly insured and do the work properly, that we apply the right standards. I think that when you talk to young people about what they're interested in the built environment, it's looking at buildings and facilities and saying, well, actually, I could have a role in making that. You know, it's there for 60 years, 80 years, longer. That's a really powerful incentive, and we need to make more of that side of the industry and really create clear blue water between the proper industry and the sort of rogue trader element that we all as society should be trying to get rid of.
It's a different I word. I'd use information, not image. We've talked about it, Graham's been sitting here chatting, but information into schools, into the hands of the careers advisors, about what diversity of professions exist within construction is really where we need to be. Yeah. If you ask the average school kid to name one of 5 professions, the construction professions are probably not on that list, and that's where we've really got to make a big push.